This is the story of Markayla Marshall, a 17-year-old young girl who was fatally shot at a park in Columbus, Georgia, on March 31, 2022. She was shot and killed by Ceonna Turpin, a 16-year-old girl who had a disagreement with her over an insult to Ceonna's grandmother. Ceonna's older sister, Ceonna Turpin, was also a participant in the murder and aggravated assault for encouraging her sister to shoot. The shooting was captured on video and posted on various social media accounts. Hello and welcome to Twisted Crimes. Subscribe and hit the like button for more stories.
Now, two siblings appeared in Georgia's Superior Court after filing for immunity in the Staunton Drive shooting case that claimed the life of 17-year-old Markayla Marshall in Columbus back in March of 2022.
This story will be taking us to the city of Columbus, Georgia. Columbus is a city in western Georgia. Columbus is the second largest city in Georgia after Atlanta, and fields the state's fourth largest metropolitan area. This was where Markayla called home. Markayla Marshall was born on July 15, 2005, in Columbus, Georgia. She was the youngest of three sisters and had a close bond with them. She attended Kendrick High School, where she was a junior and an honor roll student. She was also involved in various extracurricular activities, such as cheerleading, dance, and choir. She had a passion for music and singing and dreamed of becoming a famous singer one day. She was described by her family and friends as a very spiritual person who always wanted to be happy.
I can be full weed.
And that was it. But when I cook
She was also known for her bright smile and sunny personality that lit up any room she entered. Ceonna Turpin was born on October 10, 2006, in Columbus, Georgia. She was the younger of two sisters and lived with them and their mother. She attended Carver High School, where she was a sophomore and a troubled student. She had a history of behavioral issues and disciplinary actions at school. She also had a criminal record for theft and battery charges.
I'll be there.
Yes, ma'am.
She was involved in a romantic relationship with Reginald Fletcher, who used to date Markayla Marshall before they broke up. She had a grudge against Markayla for allegedly insulting her grandmother on social media. Ceonna's sister Ceonna Turpin was born on June 12, 2003, in Columbus, Georgia. She was the older sister of Ceonna Turpin and the mother of a 2-year-old boy. She dropped out of high school and did not have a stable job or income. She was supportive of her sister's relationship with Fletcher and often accompanied her to confront Markayla. She also posted videos on Facebook threatening and taunting Markayla to meet them at the park to fight or face the consequences. The dispute between Markayla and Ceonna started when Markayla made a derogatory remark about Turpin's grandmother on social media. The exact nature of the remark is not clear, but it apparently offended Ceonna and her sister Ceonna. They decided to settle the score by challenging Markayla to a physical fight at Primus King Park, a public park in South Columbus. They posted several videos on Facebook calling out Marshall and warning her that they would shoot her if she did not show up. On March 31, 2022, around 6 p.m., Markayla arrived at the park with 8 other people, including her 2 sisters and 2 friends who were also shot during the incident. Ceonna and Ceonna were already there with their mother and Ceonna's son. As soon as Markayla saw them, she walked over and sprayed them with pepper spray, hoping to end the confrontation quickly. However, Ceonna pulled out a 9mm pistol from her waistband and started shooting blindly at Marshall and her group. Ceonna was heard on video shouting, "Shoot, Susie, shoot," twice before the gunfire erupted. Markayla was hit 3 times in the chest and abdomen. She collapsed on the ground and tried to crawl away from the shooter. Her younger sister ran over to help her and called 911. 2 other women who were with Markayla were also wounded in the legs but managed to escape to safety. Ceonna Turpin stopped shooting after emptying the magazine of her gun. She then fled the scene with her sister, mother, and nephew in their car. The police arrived at the park shortly after receiving multiple calls about the shooting. They found Markayla lying on the ground in critical condition. They performed CPR on her until paramedics arrived and took her to Piedmont Columbus Regional Hospital. Unfortunately, she succumbed to her injuries at 7:49 p.m., about 90 minutes after the shooting. The police also found multiple shell casings and a pepper spray canister at the scene. They interviewed the witnesses and reviewed the cell phone videos that captured the shooting. They identified Ceonna Turpin as the shooter and Markayla Turpin as her accomplice. They issued warrants for their arrest and launched a manhunt for them.
Police tonight issuing a second murder warrant in the death of Markayla Marshall. She was shot in Primus King Park in Columbus on March 31st. Police have issued the warrant for Ceonna Turpin. She's charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault. Her sister, Ceonna Turpin, was already arrested and charged in the murder as well.
On April 4th, 4 days after the shooting, Ceonna decided to surrender to the authorities. She went to the Columbus Police Department and turned herself in. She admitted that she was the one who shot Markayla Marshall and 2 other women at Primus King Park. She was arrested and booked into the Muskogee County Jail. She faced serious charges for her actions. She was charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She was denied bond and had to remain in jail until her trial. On June 6, 2 months after the shooting, Markayla Turpin was also arrested by the police. She was caught during a routine traffic stop on Interstate 185.
An arrest in connection with the shooting death of a 17-year-old girl at a Columbus park back on March 31st. Just yesterday, police took Markayla Turpin into custody during a traffic stop. She's the second female suspect arrested in connection with the death of Markayla Marshall. She was shot during an altercation at Primus King Park on Staunton Drive back on March 31st. And back in April, Columbus police arrested Ceonna Turpin on murder and aggravated assault charges in connection with this shooting.
The police recognized her as a wanted suspect in the murder case and pulled her over. She was taken into custody without incident. She was also booked into the Muskogee County Jail. She faced the same charges as her sister. She was charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She was also denied bond and had to stay in jail until her trial.
2 siblings appeared in Georgia's Superior Court after filing for immunity in the Staunton Drive shooting case that claimed the life of 17-year-old Markayla Marshall in Columbus back in March of 2022. Defendants Markayla and Ceonna Turpin filed a motion to not proceed forward in a trial, saying that they acted in self-defense. Markayla is being charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. Ceonna also receiving the same charges under Senate Bill 440, which declares juveniles who commit certain felonies can be tried as adults. Superior Court Judge Bobby Peters did not make a decision on immunity, but is expected to do so next week. Previous court testimony revealed that Marshall and Ceonna had a disagreement because Marshall allegedly made a derogatory comment about Ceonna's grandmother. According to the video that was pulled by the prosecution, Ceonna could be seen being pepper sprayed by Marshall. Ceonna then fired the gun, killing Marshall and wounding others. Markayla is being represented by defense attorney Anthony Johnson. Johnson says the state does not have enough evidence to rebut Ceonna's testimony.
Yeah, so this is a motion that's a little bit differently than all the other motions, and where we have what's called the burden of proof. So we just have to show the judge more likely than not, so which is 51%, that she acted in self-defense. And our standpoint is that she said that she acted in self-defense, and the state never brought anybody up to say anything otherwise. And so because of that, we believe that we absolutely positively should win the motion.
Judge Peters asked both the defense and prosecution to submit their cases to him, and he will make a ruling on today's hearing next week. If immunity is denied, that trial would begin Monday, February 6th.
The motion was denied and the trial went further as it should. The trial of the Turpin sisters began on February 1, 2023, in the Muskogee County Superior Court. The prosecution argued that they acted with malice and premeditation when they shot Markayla over a petty dispute. They presented evidence from the Facebook videos, the cell phone videos, the witnesses, and the forensic experts to prove their case. The defense argued that Ceonna acted in self-defense and under the influence of sudden passion when she shot Markayla after being pepper sprayed. They claimed that she was scared and panicked and did not intend to kill anyone. They also argued that Markayla did not participate in the shooting and should not be held responsible for her sister's actions. On February 8, before the trial could go to the jury, the Turpin sisters accepted a plea deal from the state. They pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of aggravated assault. Voluntary manslaughter is when someone causes the death of another human being that would otherwise be murder but under an act of sudden, violent, and irresistible passion. Ceonna Turpin was sentenced to 30 years in prison, with 25 years to serve and 5 years on probation. Markayla Turpin was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with 15 years to serve and 5 years on probation.
2 sisters are headed to prison after pleading guilty today in the killing of a 17-year-old girl at a Columbus Park last year.
Markayla Marshall was shot to death at Primus King Park off Staunton Drive last March. Police saying her death coming after a fight between the girls.
News 8 9's Amaya Graham was in the courtroom. She joins us live now from the Government Center with details. And Amaya, the guilty plea from the sisters coming as testimony was about to begin in their trial, right?
With the courtroom filled with friends and family of Markayla Marshall, both Ceonna and Ceonna Turpin pleading guilty this morning to voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of aggravated assault. The Turpins both receiving sentences of over 15 years.
Ceonna Turpin told her younger sister before Marshall was shot and killed. Before the trial could begin, both Turpin sisters agreed to a plea bargain, pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of aggravated assault. Jakaya Wright, a friend of Markayla, says the Turpins pleading guilty felt like partial justice.
And it felt a little unfair because they can, still call home and, talk to their family, but we can't never see Markayla again. We only have memories to live by.
Ceonna Turpin was sentenced to 30 years with 25 to serve, and Ceonna Turpin 20 years with 15 to serve. Assistant District Attorney Don Kelly says he is happy with the outcome of the plea and happy to be able to provide closure for the families affected by this tragedy.
Because when we go through a trial, there's not necessarily even closure at the end of a verdict, because then we go through appeals process and we have cases that sometimes are reversed and returned and we have to retry them years after the fact. So when we can get this kind of finality, that's very important for the families.
The Turpin sisters apologized to the family, asking for forgiveness. Ceonna Marshall, a family member of Markayla, says hearing them plead guilty feels bittersweet, adding most family members don't believe the apologies.
I feel like they had no remorse.
None.
Even though I know they said they were sorry in the courtroom today, but I still feel like they had no remorse. If you can get on live afterwards, after you say you did self-defense, then it should be you would have remorse, but she had no remorse. You got on live and you even told everybody that you did it and said you would do it again if you could.
Right.
Turpin will be in her 40s when she gets out, and her sister Erica will be in her 30s when she gets out.
They were both denied the Georgia First Offender Act, which would have allowed them to have their records wiped clean after serving their time. The judge who presided over the case, Bobby Peters, expressed his dismay over the senseless violence that claimed Markayla's life. He said that it devalued human life completely and that it was irrational and stupid to think all over a boy. The aftermath of Markayla's death was devastating for her family and friends. They held a vigil for her at the park where she was killed and released balloons in her memory. They also organized a funeral service for her at Greater Beelwood Baptist Church, where hundreds of people attended to pay their respects. They remembered her as a loving daughter, sister, friend, and student who had a bright future ahead of her. Markayla's family also expressed their dissatisfaction with the plea deal and the sentencing of the Turpin sisters. They said that it was not justice for their daughter and that they wanted them to spend more time in prison. They said that they would never see or talk to Markayla again, while the Turpins would eventually get out and reunite with their family. Markayla's death also sparked a conversation about gun violence and teen violence in Columbus and beyond. Our deepest condolences to the family of Markayla Marshall. May her soul continue to rest in peace.